Northwestern Homecoming is this week and all activities are in full swing.
Also, we have updates on what's going on around the world with Taylor Morris. Keep it here, the Ranger News starts now.
Live on the campus of Northwestern Oklahoma State University, this is Ranger 7.
Hello, and thank you for choosing NWTV 7 News. I'm Caitlin Ball.
And I'm Jordan McLemore. We've been updating our studio the last 2 weeks, so we've not had a newscast. However, we still covered events going on around campus. We wanted to give you a quick update. Family Day was held on September 12th at the Alba campus of NWOSU. This is an annual event that is held to bring families to Northwestern and spend a day getting to know what we are all about. Some events that are held that day include a drawing for tuition, a football game, and a cookout on the tiers. Drawing for tuition has students go around town to the different stores and they enter in a drawing for different tuition waivers. This is announced at the football game. Also at the football game, there is a contest to find the family that drove the farthest for this event. This year's winner was from Florida. Dr. Cunningham spoke in the ballroom to an audience of students and families. She spoke of the advances Northwestern has made the past year, including the new press box, turf, and what the nursing program has in store. All in all, Family Day was great fun for all those that attended.
Freshman Frenzy was held on September 14th on the new Ranger Field. The plan behind it was to get the entire freshmen together to bond closer relationships with other freshmen in their classes. An interview with Dr. Cunningham said this was a way to hopefully gain stronger retention for all 4 years. Each freshman team consisted of Student Ranger Connector and corresponding Freshman Ranger Connection class. Each group wore a certain color like green, red, or blue and participated in a series of competitions with each group. Matt Adair and Chesney Thomas were the main directors of the games. They utilized the entire field and the brand new press box to direct all of the mini games.
The Northwestern Aggie Club is seeking more campus and community participation. This organization is not only for agricultural majors on campus, but is open to all students interested in joining the club. The club's goal is to have fun with like-minded Northwestern students. The group meets 2 times a month. The meetings are held at the school farm or in Jesse Dunn 128. If you are interested in joining the club and expanding your agricultural knowledge, contact Steve Sneary at 327-5956 or at sasneary@nwosu.edu.
Welcome back, sports fans. I'm Adriana Becerra. Ranger athletes have been busy this fall semester, and let's first take a look at the Ranger rodeo team. The Northwestern men's rodeo team took first place as a team at the Colby College Rodeo, and the ladies placed second. Northwestern brought 3 championship buckles home. 17 Rangers competed in the championship round. Lane Earl won the steer wrestling, Bryson Sechrist won the calf roping, and Sarah Bynum won the barrel racing. The Rangers' second rodeo was in Woodward, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and results will be given next week. Reigning CNFR team roping champion has transferred to Northwestern. Sawyer Barham will compete for the NWOSU rodeo team this season. Barham won the team roping events at the college finals. This year, he's roping with Hunter Munsell, a fellow Northwestern Ranger. Keep an eye out on the standout athlete. The NWOSU volleyball team was home this past weekend, taking on Southeastern and ECU. The Rangers defeated Southeastern Oklahoma State in straight sets by a score of 3-0. This was their first win in the Great American Conference play. On Saturday, the Rangers took on ECU in 5 straight sets, claiming the victory 3-2. Asia Pipkin led the offense attack for the Rangers with 16 kills. The Rangers will be back in action Friday, October 9th at 7 p.m. as they welcome Great American Conference opponent University of Arkansas, Monticello to Percival Fieldhouse. Ranger football hosted the visiting Reddies of Henderson State University at Ranger Field for their second home matchup of the season. Here's a look at the play-by-play from 7 News reporter Travis Harmon-Smith.
Ranger football welcomed the Reddies of Henderson State for the second home game of the season, which pretty much turned into a defensive showdown. Let's not go too far just yet as we begin the first quarter. Northwestern kicks off to Henderson State to open the game as Corey Campbell of the Reddies just flies down the sideline, returning it for 100 yards to the pylon, giving Henderson State an early 7-0 lead with an extra point attempt. 3 minutes later, it was 1st and 10 at the HSU 44-yard line as Henderson State quarterback Andrew Black's pass was intercepted by Ranger defensive back Jordan Norris, who showed terrific athleticism on that play. Norris was everywhere for the Rangers secondary for most of the contest. Northwestern's defense brought the heat all night long against the Reddies, as we'll see here with 5:47 left in the first, 2nd and 20 at the Henderson 44-yard line as Ranger linebacker Derek Thompson lays the wood on Reddy's quarterback Hardinson for the sack. Heading into the second quarter, the Ranger defense continued its dominance later in the second. 3rd and 2, defensive lineman Jacoby Beasley puts the hammer on Henderson State quarterback Hardinson. Beasley finished the night with 2 sacks for the Ranger defense. Northwestern was down 18-3 at intermission, beginning in the third, 2nd and 5. Reddy's running back Jaquan Cole takes it 18 yards from scrimmage for the touchdown, making it 25-3 Henderson State. After a late touchdown by Henderson State running back Cole early in the third, the Northwestern defense started to come back. In the middle of the fourth with 10:25 left in the game as Hardison's pass is intercepted by Norris, and Norris returned it for 22 yards for the touchdown, cutting the deficit 25-10. 2 minutes later, Reed Miller drops back in the pocket and throws a nice deep 55-yard touchdown pass to Arte Murad Jr. for the final Northwestern score as the Rangers dropped a heartbreaker at home to the Reddies, 25-17. Ranger head coach Matt Walters spoke about the miscues and mistakes that Northwestern will have to watch out for as they travel to Ouachita Baptist for their second road game of the season, coming up in Week 4.
Like I said, defense played lights out. We gave up that quick touchdown to begin the game, and then we had a pick six off of a drop ball. It hit the kid right between the numbers, and it bounced up in the air, and they took advantage of it. We got to limit those type of mistakes. We can't overcome those mistakes at this point in our progress as a program.
Thanks, Travis. Northwestern is set to play Southeastern Oklahoma State this Saturday in the homecoming matchup at Ranger Field at 3 p.m. 7 News reporter Travis Harmon-Smith also hosted the 3rd episode of his television series Ranger Sport Weekly, featuring first-year Lady Ranger head basketball coach Brett Vanna, who was a former assistant coach at NCAA Division I Weber State University in the Big Sky Conference. Ranger Sports Weekly starts now.
Welcome to another edition of Ranger Sports Weekly. I'm Travis Harmon-Smith, and I'm joined here by new head women's basketball coach, Brett Vanna. How are you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Now, previously, before you arrived at Northwestern Oklahoma State University, you were an assistant coach at Division I Weber State University in Ogden, Utah, correct?
It's actually Weber State.
Weber
Everybody
State.
always makes that. They say it's Weber, and it's actually Weber State. So just so you know that. Yeah.
You were an assistant coach there for 2 seasons in the Big Sky Conference. Explain a little bit how the experience was in Utah before you made the transition here to Alva.
Well, let me be honest with you. The transition, Utah is wonderful. It's a great place for a family, great place to grow up. Institutions, tremendous, great supportive staff. Really love sports. A lot like down here at Northwestern, and it's a great community and all of that. The Big Sky is actually it's interesting when you say that, because it's one of these conferences that anybody can beat anybody on any given night. Anybody can win the conference. It's not like one set dominant team. There has been a pattern that Montana would win it, but I mean, in the last few years there's been a lot of parity. So a lot of teams have really upped their stakes in it. Between Idaho State, Sacramento State, Southern Utah. So there were so many good teams. I think where that comes from is a lot of good coaches are now in the league, and then also I think better recruitment of players.
Definitely. Now, before you arrived in Utah, you were previously in Lewisburg, North Carolina, where you were a head coach for the junior college, which that's a junior college, if I'm correct.
Now, with the coaching stint that you had at Lewisburg College, you were able to obtain a national championship during the 2012-13 season. What intangibles led up to you achieving that national title during that season at Lewisburg College?
Well, what had to happen is when I first got there, it was a lot like this situation. I had to come into a situation, and basically I always say, I want to break it down to rubble. You know what I'm saying? I want to crush it down and build it right back up. You know, build like the Roman Colosseum, build it foundation, brick by brick, but a solid foundation. And so in 11-12, when I first got there, I came in late on the job, a lot kind of like here at Northwestern, and I had a short amount of time to do a lot of work. And so we basically got down to a lot of fundamental work and really put an emphasis on the players, okay? And when you put an emphasis on the players and they see that you really care about what they're doing in the classroom, in the community, on the floor, and you're really developing them on all those stages, if they buy in, great things happen. And we were blessed that first year. We should have won the national title the first year. I mean, we ended up winning 27 in a row. I think we went 31-2. Our last loss was the Final Four semifinal game where we lost at the buzzer to the national championship team. So, I mean, finished number 3 in the country when we actually should have finished number 1. Then to turn around and in 2012, 2013, build upon what we had just done, go 32-3, go back to the National Final Four, win the National Final Four semifinal, and then win the national title. I mean, it's incredible. The great part about that is we sent so many kids on to BCS or big-time Division I schools. Some of our best players went to Tennessee, South Carolina, Dayton, Western Carolina, High Point. I mean, these are some tremendous institutions, and you know, these kids were kids from the other side of the train tracks that everybody had given up on, said they wouldn't amount to anything, they wouldn't get an education. Now they're all graduating or in the final stages of graduating at these 4-year degrees. They got their associates, they're working on their finishing the 4 years. They had successful careers at both institutions. I mean, one of my kids played in the Final 8, lost to UConn when she was at Dayton. The other one played at South Carolina. She got to the Final Four. I mean, so it's just been a tremendous experience to be able to do those things. With national title, that's ice cream or you know, topping on the cake. Because when you think about it, that's not what it's about. It's about how did you impact or how did you serve their lives, okay? And when we win the championship, I thought it was the most humbling and surreal thing because, I mean, it really, it puts you on a level like not many teams do this. Very few teams do it. You think about all the teams on any division, how many are playing, and we're here on the last day, and we're here winning the national title. I mean, it really is something special.
To add to the national championship run when you were at Lewisburg College, you had a 32 win and 3 loss record, which is miraculous in that respect. Describe kind of how the 32 wins got assimilated within that season.
Well, it's kind of funny because between the 2 seasons, we went 63-5. 4 of the 5 losses were at the buzzer, or in the overtime at the buzzer. So we technically could have went 67-1. Well, that's unheard of. There's only 2 teams that you think of that come to mind that do that type of stuff, and that was John Wooden's UCLA teams that built a dynasty, and Gino Ariema's UConn teams that built a dynasty. Okay, yeah, you see some teams, they may go 32-1 or 30-0, and if you ask every one of those coaches, Kim Mulkey at Baylor, you know, when she had Brittany Griner, about those special teams, it's just everything clicked. Or if you ask Gino about those teams, it's just everything clicked. Or Kentucky, you know, I mean, there's so many different factors that go into it. It's like a team is a puzzle, and you get all these pieces, and you just never know, will those pieces fit together? And when they fit together, and they're working hard, and they're doing the right things, anything's possible. You know, the keys that you got to do, keep them eligible. Got to keep them injury-free. Got to keep them communicating, loud, proud, you know, talking to each other. You got to keep them motivated. You gotta know the signs of when you start seeing them burn out to, relight the fire, you know what I'm saying, or give them a break. So it's a real balancing, juggling act. And I think that's the ticket of a successful head coach when you're making a championship run. How do you juggle, all those different factors? It's, 90% psychological, 10% talent, I always say.
Definitely. Now, aside from the collegiate landscape for you, you were a professional basketball coach overseas.
Yes.
Describe the experience with coaching basketball at the professional level versus how it's done here on the professional level. I know it's kind of a differentiation between the two landscapes, professionally overseas and here in the United States. Kind of describe that.
Well, it's two different worlds. You're right. There's no doubt. I mean, like you said, majority of my time has been on the men's side, not the women's side. So I was a professional men's coach overseas. I started off in Switzerland, then went to Germany, then went to Denmark, then went back to Switzerland. Spent about 12 plus years over there. Most of that time as a head coach. Did some coaching men's and women's professionally, but most of it men's. But when you think of the professional level, you think of the NBA and you think of, European professional, it's two different worlds. And what I mean by that is European basketball is very technical, very fundamental, where I think the NBA is more athleticism, more one-on-one. In Europe, they don't. They tend to use each other a lot more. You see less one-on-one. You see more continuity, more team play. And I think that's exactly why you think about it. Greg Popovich, one of the best coaches in the NBA, he has a lot of foreigners on his team, a lot of people from Europe. Why? Because he wants the best team. He's not looking for the best individuals. He wants the best team. And so he gets all those pieces of his puzzle to blend in, great rebounders, great defenders, all of that, and he finds that way. I think, when we look at the game is changing. It's always evolving. It's very dynamic. And I think the best coaches are the ones that kind of combine or take those multiple worlds, meaning take what things they learn in the NBA and combine it with stuff that they learn in the European system or FIBA, or in the same sense, the collegiate and the international game. I mean, and when you can take that and kind of mold it together, you create a more dynamic team or a more dynamic situation. Now, I'm not saying you can have a whole team of foreigners or, you need a blend of those types of players, but what's great about it is the way they play in Europe is very physical, very technical, and then like I said, you go to the American side, it's very fast-paced, very one-on-one, or isolation type of stuff. So, the greatest thing is to try to combine those two, and that's what we try to do here. All the programs I do, we try to put those two worlds together.
In regards to the 2015 season, your first year as women's head coach here at Northwestern Oklahoma State, what are the expectations coming from your philosophy? Not because I know it's different, coming from Weber State to Northwestern, coming from the Division II, the Division I level, to the Division II level. I know there is somewhat of a differentiation between the levels. What is your philosophy for the girls here at Northwestern Oklahoma State, and what are you expecting from them from a more contribution standpoint?
Well, that's
in regards to, just really, really exhibiting that hard work and dedication. You're a high energy guy, as we saw in practice the previous morning before. You're very high energy with your philosophy. Just briefly explain the expectations that you really want for the Northwestern women's basketball program.
Well, that's real easy. I mean, that goes back to me coaching on the men's side or coaching at Lewisburg. I always say that I want our girls to play like the guys play. I want them to move like guys. I want them to play at a high level like guys. I'm used to coaching men, and we always want equality with everything across the board, and I'm all for it, and I think the quickest way we get that is by earning respect. And when we see girls doing things fundamentally sound, and we see them playing at high levels, just like the men's game, man, it's exciting. You know what I'm saying? It's fun to watch, it's fun to support, you know what I'm saying? And it's really growing our game. And so basically what I want is I have high expectations. I think of it as mountains. We always got mountains to climb. And what I want those girls to do is climb those mountains. And how we do that is, like I said, we train. We make the practices harder than the games. The games should be easy. Just like we tell them to prepare in the classroom. All the preparation work, the study hall, the study, all that should be harder than the actual test. So if we correlate all that stuff on and off the floor, hopefully that stuff sticks together. And what we're doing is we're building up basketball IQs. We're getting real solid thinking players, players that can read and react, players that can just make plays or think on the fly. And I like where we're going. We've got a long ways to go here at Northwestern, but I really like the initial stages right now where our girls are going, trying to buy into what we're trying to teach them and trying to motivate them with.
Any players that you look for to be impactful for the upcoming season? And I know that's a hilarious question to ask, but essentially, what do you expect for your players to do to really be impactful for this season? And if there is anyone individually who essentially looks to incorporate some type of impact this season, who would it be?
Well, like I was telling you before, that's kind of a question that I kind of stay away from. And why I say is I never highlight any one individual, okay? And the reason why, there's no I in team, okay? As Brad Stevens, Butler's former head coach, and the head coach of the Boston Celtics used to say, it's we above I. It's always we the team above I, the individual. And so I've always have felt that we've got to instill a team atmosphere, a team attitude. And so when you start highlighting or picking out one player or stats of one player, what are you doing? You're actually taking the spotlight and putting out one individual instead of the group. So basically what I'm going to tell you in this one is there's no one player to look for. What we're trying to do is build some well-rounded team players. We're trying to build players that all contribute to the cause. Because the more players we have that contribute to the cause, the better off we're going to be. Maybe some other team can only go 6, 7, 8 deep. Maybe we can go 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 deep. You see what I'm saying? And by doing those kinds of things, we're able to play a lot of players. We're able to have a lot of players contribute, okay? But how do you do that? You got to build the skills. Each kid has got to have the same type of skill set. If they don't, well, then they're limited. And then maybe they're limited in position that they can play or limited in their role that they can play on the team. So, what we try to do is we try to build up the team through fundamental development and skill development to all be on the same page so that they can all count on each other at any given time.
Definitely. Well, Coach Vanna, I appreciate you joining us on Ranger Sports Weekly, and it was a pleasure speaking with you. Good luck this upcoming season with the Northwestern women's basketball program, and I am sure that Ranger fans will be looking forward to seeing how your philosophy plays out this upcoming season. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Join us every week for Ranger Sports Weekly on 7 News Sports.
That's it for us Ranger sports fans. Don't forget to join in on the homecoming game this weekend and ride Rangers Ride.
Welcome back. I'm Taylor Morris. Today we have a lot of topics covering, I'm sorry, already messing up, my bad. I got this. Here we go. I'm ready.
5, 4.
Welcome back. I'm Taylor Morris. Today we have a lot of topics to cover going on around the world. As many know, Pope Francis of the Catholic Church was on tour throughout the United States. He made a surprising announcement at his last stop in Philadelphia. While addressing the bishops and seminarians, he stated that he met with victims who have suffered from clergy sex abuse. He swore to them that the guilty parties will be held accountable. He expressed that they all owe each victim tremendous gratitude for their courage. The Pope met with 5 victims for 30 minutes at the St. Charles Borromeo Seminary and prayed with them. During a speech to the United Nations, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg stated that the key to ending extreme poverty is internet access. He believes that when communities are connected, they can be lifted from poverty. Zuckerberg said that the company, Facebook, would be partnering with United Nations to bring internet access to refugee camps. On Friday, the set goal of this partnership is to end poverty by the year 2030. Zuckerberg trusts that by giving people access to tools, knowledge, and opportunities of the internet, they can give a voice to the voiceless and power to the powerless. Australian officials refused R&B singer Chris Brown's visa application to enter into the country. As many are aware, in 2009, Brown was sentenced to 5 years of probation and 180 days of community service for brutally beating and strangling his then-girlfriend and pop singer, Rihanna. Although Brown's manager believed he would have no trouble entering into the country because he has toured there before, he was still denied. Brown has already been denied access into Canada, the United Kingdom, the New Zealand, and according to the Immigration Act, the immigration minister of a country has the power to refuse or cancel a visa on character grounds regarding an individual's substantial criminal record. Everyone has been discussing the recent shooting that occurred at the Umpqua Community College in Roseburg, Oregon. Chris Harper Mercer was the shooter behind the deadly rampage that killed 9 people, ranging from ages 18 to 67. Mercer attended the community college and was enrolled in English and theater classes and opened fire in his English class. Mercer apparently committed suicide after exchanging gunfire with officers. Investigators found 14 firearms connected to the shooter. The father of Mercer expressed his condolences to the family of the victims. He said he was extremely surprised that his son would commit such a horrible crime, let alone carry firearms. According to one of the survivors, Cheyenne Fitzgerald, who is still in critical condition, Mercer handed an envelope to one person in the room and told him he was the lucky one and to stand in the corner. Fitzgerald was then asked what her religion was, and when she did not answer, she was shot. She survived by playing dead. There has been severe rain in South Carolina, and shortly after midnight on Sunday, the National Weather Service announced a flash flood emergency warning from the Charleston, Berkeley, and Dorchester counties. It stated that the risk of the severe rain would be catastrophic. According to Governor Nikki Haley, at least 12 people have died due to the weather. More than 11 inches of rain has fallen on the city in 48 hours. There hasn't been this level of rain in the Low Country in 1,000 years. The rainfall is due to the tropical moisture tied to Hurricane Joaquin. The storm began in the Bahamas before making its way to the east coast of the United States. Residents are being urged to remain indoors and avoid traveling on the roads. On Saturday at about 10:15 p.m., a 2-story house in Minneapolis caught on fire, killing 3 children. It is believed that the fire may have been caused by an oven that was left open. The mother of the 3 children survived the blaze. However, 2 of the children were already dead by the time help had arrived, and the third was later pronounced dead at the hospital. The Minneapolis Fire Department has not officially determined the cause of the fire. Officials believe that since the weather was in the mid-40s Saturday night, the oven was left on and open to provide warmth in the home because it did not have central heating. Minneapolis Fire Chief John Frutel expressed that ovens and stoves are not heating appliances. According to the World Bank on Sunday, it was forecasted for the first time that the rate of extreme poverty worldwide has dropped below 10% in 2015, showing that the effort to eliminate poverty in the world is working. The World Bank predicts that the amount of people earning less than $1.90 a day will fall to 702 million people a year. World Bank President Jim Yong Kim thinks that these projections show that we are, in fact, the first generation in human history that can end extreme poverty. Though the road ahead may be challenging, the goal of the World Bank and the Global Poverty Project, is to increase the effort to eliminate poverty by the year 2030. And that's a look at hard news going on around the world. Stay tuned for a look at Northwestern's homecoming.
Cut to black.
The Ranger Band has their fall performance planned. The band has 3 different types: jazz, marching, and concert. The jazz band is a small group, while the marching band is a little bit bigger. The band will be preparing for 3 or 4 original shows to be displayed at the Ranger home football games. A Katy Perry themed show is in progress of being perfected. There will be also a Halloween themed show for the upcoming holiday. Be sure to head out to Ranger Field to see the hard work that the Ranger Band has been putting in.
Northwestern welcomes Georgia Frazier, also known as Miss Oklahoma, as the MC for the Northwestern Oklahoma State University's Miss Cinderella pageant. The pageant will be October 9th at 8 p.m. It costs $10 to get into the pageant. Tickets and homecoming buttons will be available at the door. The buttons come with multiple benefits, including discounts at local businesses. Also, admissions to the football game October 10th against Southeastern.
Saturday, October 10th kicks off the day's festivities with Ranger Run at 8 a.m. at the downtown square.
Parade marshal reception will be held from 9 to 10 a.m. at the alumni tents.
There will be lots of special attractions from 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the downtown square, including booths, games, a petting zoo, and food.
The homecoming parade begins at 10 a.m.
And the football game kicks off at Ranger Field at 3 p.m. with a Ranger Band halftime show and Ranger King and Queen coronations.
So, Kat, what's your favorite part about homecoming?
My favorite part of homecoming is probably the parade. I know that you have to wake up early and everything, but just seeing what everybody has put together is just amazing to me.
Yeah, that's
What's
a
your
really good
favorite
part. The parade, obviously, but I really like seeing what the band has prepared for homecoming.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting.
Looking forward to that Halloween one too. So that'll do it for us this week.
Tune in next week for a recap of homecoming.